Okay, so for this problem, a gardener wants to construct 3 garden areas by first building a fence around a rectangular region, then dividing the regions into 3 smaller rectangles and placing 2 fences parallel in between them. That's these right here. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to find the dimensions of this region in order and minimize the amount of fencing that we use, right? And the total area that we're going to use is 300 square feet. So that's going to be our constraint, meaning that we can't go beyond 300 square feet. And we want to be able to minimize the amount of fencing that we use. All right. So the very first thing that we have to do is create the first formula. That's going to be length times width equals 300 square feet. All right. That's our constraint. So now the next formula, it's going to be the sum of all the sides. So let's go ahead and label them on the chart. So this is my width, and these are my lengths, and there's another width on top. So how many lengths do we have? 4. So it's going to be 4 length plus 2 width equals the perimeter. In this case, we don't have the perimeter, so we're going to put P equals P. All right. Okay, so the next step is we're going to find the derivative of the perimeter, right? With respect to L or W, you get to choose. So here we're going to do the derivative with respect to W. With respect to L. Let's do L. So we're going to say the derivative with respect to L of this function plus 2W, and we can ignore P because that's just the equation. This is the equation for the perimeter. So because we're doing L, the derivative of L is just going to be 4. 4L is just 4. But notice how on this side we don't have an L. So how are we going to find the derivative of W when we're doing it with respect to L? We can't. So what we need to do, we need to replace this W with this formula solved by L. So let me explain what that means. So let me put it in red. So we said that we have L times W equals 300. So we're going to go ahead and solve for W. So we're going to divide both sides by L. So now we have this special formula that's W equals 300 divided by L. Okay, so this is what we're going to use. So if I ask you what's 300 right here, you're going to say, well, that's 300 divided by L. So let's go ahead and replace it. It's going to be 300 divided by L, and then there's going to be a 2 in front of that. Let me go ahead and erase this. So now we have 600L over L plus 4L, and we want to find the derivative of that. Sorry, that looks like 2 D's. D with respect to L. Okay, so we said that the derivative of 4L is just 4. The derivative of 600 over L, it's 600 over L squared. Right here we use the quotient rule in order to find this. If you don't remember the quotient rule, it says the derivative of the top the derivative of the top times the bottom minus the derivative of the bottom times the top divided by the bottom squared. Okay, so hopefully that following this rule gives you that. Okay, and I want you to do that on a scratch sheet of paper. Okay, so now that we have the derivative, so now we're gonna, because we found the derivative, and remember we're finding the minimum or maximum, we're gonna make it equal to 0, and then we're gonna solve for it. So let me go ahead and write that on this side. 4 plus 600 L squared equals to 0. And then we're going to solve for L, and that's going to give us the lowest, the minimum length of the shape once we solve this. So we go ahead and subtract by 4, subtract by 4. So we have 600 over L squared equals -4. So now we multiply both sides by L squared. This cancels and you're left with 600 equals to -4 L squared.
You got it?
All right.
How long did it take you?
You know what? Made a little mistake. Let's backtrack. Let's backtrack because I just caught my mistake. Let's keep backtracking. The only thing that I forgot is the minus sign here. When you do the derivative right here, remember how we said this is squared? It actually becomes a minus for this symbol right here, because it's minus that. There you go. Okay, so that's basically going to change a lot of it. So it's 4 minus 600 over, we said L squared equals to 0. There you go. And I noticed because I was going to get a negative answer, and you cannot have negative answers for lengths, right? Lengths have to be positive. So let's go ahead and subtract -4, same thing, just how we were doing. Minus 600 over L squared equals -4. And we do the same thing. We can multiply both sides by L2. Let me do it in red. This side multiply by L2, L squared, and multiply this by L squared. And what's going to happen over here, these are going to cancel. And we're just left with -600 equals, and it's going to be -4 L squared. And this is where it becomes positive. You see how we divide two negatives? So what's 60 divided by 4? 15, right? So this is 150 equals L squared. And there you go. We have a positive. Now we do the square root. So the length, now we square root both sides. So we have L equals the square root of 150. Whatever that is, right? It's probably approximately, L is approximately, let's see, let me use my calculator. So the square root of 150, it's approximately 12.2. Okay, so now we know what the lengths are. All these right here are going to be 12.2 in length. Okay, so now how do we find the W? Well, guess what? We have 12.2. We can plug it into this formula or this formula, whichever one we want. Okay, so clearly the easier one is to plug it in on top because it's less math, right? This you have to add. It's easier for us to plug it in the top formula. But when you plug it in, you're not going to plug in the estimated value. You're going to plug in the actual value, which is the square root of 150. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me go ahead and clear out some space. Okay, so for this one, I wrote down the equation that we're going to plug it in. However, we can also plug it into this formula in red, this one right here. Because remember, they're both the same thing. It's just that we're moving things around. So let's plug it into that one instead, because that one's just going to give us W. So we said 300 divided by L. And we found out that L is square root of 150. So let's see what that gives us approximately. Okay, so we get approximately 24.5, which makes sense, right? Because the width is much longer than the length. Okay. However, when you submit these answers, you always want to give the exact answer, not the approximations, unless the instructor tells you to submit an approximation. So the exact answers are this and this in yellow. Those are our answers in square feet. So we always have to put square feet. So square feet, something I forgot to do. And over here, square root of 150 square feet. Okay. So that is it.